Hey guys, Joshua Peterson here at Peterson Electric. We're going to do a 200 amp upgrade to a 400 amp upgrade on this house. The house is about 5,500 square foot. It's in an HOA. It is out in Thornton, Colorado. It's about mid-October. We've already had our first snowfall a week and a half ago, and now we got two more coming before Halloween, which is kind of abnormal for us. For some of you guys that are thinking about doing a service upgrade, whether you're going from 100 amp or 70 amp up to a 125, 150, 200, those are not as much as a big deal. But either way, if you're dealing with some of the power companies, that can be a big deal. Excel out here does a lot of our areas for gas and power. And I dealt with this. We started this in July when I met the customer. And then in August, we started planning and we ordered equipment. And then we waited about 4 or 5 weeks for equipment, and then we've been waiting 12 to 14 weeks for Excel. And all of a sudden now we're supposed to get killed tomorrow by noon, and then guess what? A storm's coming in here on October the 23rd tonight, and it'll be coming in at 2 inches. So we'll be changing this out in the snow. But the problem is that they moved back. So they moved back the date for the power to be retrenched. The transformer, I'll show you in a minute, is right there. So literally, it's 44 feet. When I was in Boulder last year in 2018, I got to do a 180-foot trench at 3 foot deep. Some spots was 4 foot. And we put in our 2.5-inch PVC, schedule 80, just to be safe. And then they pulled through it. So we were just fine with that. And it was a 200 amp service. It went from 100 amp to 200. So it was a 4/0 aluminum. So they weren't too concerned about a voltage drop, and we didn't see much of a voltage drop. But on this little spot of 44 feet, they won't let us do it out here in this area of Thornton. So we have to wait on them. The point is if I had to do the trench myself, I could have killed power, done the trench, and done the whole changeover back in August when it was warm. So I don't have control over that, and neither does your electrician. Plus you're dealing with your electrician's schedule. So this customer said, hey, I don't want to kill it, but you got to keep in mind that we're going to be down in the negative or 8 to 12 to 22 degrees for the next 5-7 nights. And so the problem is that running a generator, we could run one just for the furnace and hook it up. We could also winterize the house, but they're living here now. And so because of the delay, they had to move in and get out of their other rental, which they had 3 months. But now because of all these delays, here we are. So the other thing is that the neighbors live this close, and there's an HOA, so who knows if they're going to call on us. But we may end up winterizing the house, drying out those pipes and just letting it sit for a week. But I'm hoping to run a generator. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. I've got a little small 1,500 watt, and it'll run definitely 2 furnaces, no problem. The problem is the gas reserve, and it has to be filled every 2.5 hours if it's running high. If it's running low, it's more like every 3.5 hours. So we're thinking about maybe sticking it in the window well, but it's probably still going to echo. You know, I guess the worst thing that happens is Thornton police knock on the door and say there's a noise ordinance. Anyways, let's travel this way real quick. This is what it looks like right now. I'm sorry. 200 amp main coming in. Power of 100 amp feeding through here. And then these are the branch circuits we're ripping off today. This is the upstairs. We've already come out here 3 times and done some work. We did our grounding for our 2 ground rods. We had 1, but now we got 2 over there. Intersystem bonding bridge bar. This got moved. This will be moved. And because of the size of the gear, they're going to have to be over here. So we're going to pop that guy back on. This is coming off. These branch circuits will go down, and I'll show you that. And the solar will just disconnect over there, which feeds to here when I work on this. So keep in mind, we've got 2 sources of energy coming to this house. We're going to be mounting this one right here for the one upstairs and pulling those wires down. They will be too short. And then we got a second one. He does main framing. So for my SEO guy and my wife, who's videoing this right now. Say hi, Alicia, since she never does. She won't. She's too shy. Our SEO guy, it's going to be labeled a 200 to 400 amp upgrade. We are arc faulting all the circuits, even the ones that we're not moving, because I called Thornton and they says, yeah, unless you extend them, you don't have to, but he would like to. So we're arc faulting both panels. It's about 50 circuits total around there. Probably end up with about 80% of them arc faulted. There is a lot of multi-branch, if you saw that in the panel, black, red, white. So those breakers were pretty pricey. We are using Siemens equipment on all of it. And so this panel here will be later for the basement, and another AC. He's got 2 ACs out front, and he wants another one. And then later he's going to have mainframing, probably Bitcoin currency going on is my guess, and he has quite a few. So we're going to have 100 amp here in one panel, 100 amp another panel, and then let's go up and look at that gear. I'll show you what we're doing. One of the challenges that epoxy floor they just did last week. Oh boy, that stuff is really slick. So you guys just saw the equipment outside. In fact, the little panel we're ripping off is right here, and the bigger one's right here. There's nothing else that we could find another way to extend these circuits. So we looked in Article 314, making sure our box volume's enough. It's only like about 3/4 of a small panel worth of circuits, and there it is. So we're gonna cut that in, splice, and extend down, okay? And then right there, we've already drilled our holes. And we will splice down, pull those out. And then once we pull all those back, I'll show you another video, but we will do, you'll have to paint that cover. And this will be flush to the wall. You'll have to put an entertainment center, but you couldn't find any other way to do this. Could we junction in the ceiling down there? It is a possibility, but we felt that the wires were really short because you can see that nipple right there and it's already cut. So those are cut in there. So we kind of felt like, you know, I mean, you're not allowed to tape up and then extend down. So if the inspector sees that jacket, I did all that work, and what's most likely, they're too short. And they all go up that wall to upstairs. Nothing comes from the basement. So I know you're gonna ask me a bunch of questions on that. No, there is no other way. So. Out here you can see the house. It's a 2-car garage with a third extended on the side. Fairly nice sized home. Here's my equipment. I will be running some number 2 TC cable because he preferred copper right here over aluminum. So this stuff does not bend nearly compared to what my number 2 aluminum at 100 amp does. In fact, this is probably closer to 125 amp rated. If you look in the back of the code book on their chapter for the chart that they allow for residential single family dwellings. So we're gonna use TC cable. I brought some number 2 just in case I have to do something else. I always prepared extra. I had some extra 10 gauge, 8 gauge, my other roll 6 gauge knockout set. I've got 2 of these 1500 watt Yamaha generators, plenty of gas. And I did prepare. So here's the most frustrating part about dealing with this. I'll be straight up honest with you like I always am. I'm not even allowed to talk to the trench guys, which is they're hiring out Sturgeon. And those guys are union boys. So the buffer that I have with one of the guys at Excel, he was saying that I had to have in, what size is this that I had to get? A 4-inch expansion. I'm so sorry, I'm drawing a blank here today. An expansion fitting. So the bottom line is that we did bring a coupling here to see if that would be good, but this is only going to be a 2.5. And then I did find 3-inch expansion coupling, whereas I have a riser conduit at a 4-inch. So I know that they're going to be pulling, they said, most likely some 4-aught aluminum. I'm surprised they're not going to bump it up to 250 KC mil aluminum. I did ask them if they're doing parallel runs at that distance of 45, 50 foot. They said no. So I kind of ended up having to buy a little bit extra to be safe. So these are not cheap by any means. You know, this mini strap alone was $22 for that one. Whereas our normal minis are really cheap, you know. They get to be about a couple bucks. Anyway, so we're gonna use some of this. We might use this going downstairs, but I also have some FMC 1.5" flex, which I think the TC cable should fill just fine, especially in chapter 8, table 9, so I'm not over my, I think it's 60% fill. It should be fine in that 1.5". This is the gear going outside. I've already ordered all my breakers and counted per every circuit that's going in, so I know it'll fit. I do not have a lot of extra space, but I did leave one extra space that's going to be for our new AC unit outside, which is 45 amp. These are going to be the 2 sub panels going downstairs. Now this is interesting. This can alone, you know, I don't like quoting prices on the phone, to be honest with you, because I get so much kickback from a bunch of DIYs and other guys in other parts of the States. So this can was definitely expensive. It was at least in a couple grand. But the bottom line is, if I had ordered one 400 amp main, it bumped up my price another $1,200 to $1,500. And that was because of this one main breaker. So by far I was able to save the customer money by doing two 200 amps that parallel to this gear bar. Now I did have to find out, are you guys going to be doing parallel runs or single? And they said single. So I have single barrel connectors that'll be large enough to put on there and torque down. I do have to have a torque wrench specified, which I have one on the truck. That's just my normal one, but this is going to be 180, I think 140 inch-pounds. So you got to pay attention to that. And here in Colorado, everything with every utility company, for Collins, REA, Excel, Loveland, Pooter, all of these guys, they require bypass lever now. And the main disconnect can be outside. So the main disconnects are here, of course, too. And so this one fed here, and I had to order one extra one to be on here for this 200 amp main. So anyways, guys, yeah, so they're going to be knocking out here, and then this, my normal cabinet out there is this size, and then it's got to go to this size. So that's why the other panel is going to come off, and I'll do another video. But we got to knock out somewhere in here, and that riser is here, so somehow I had to go over here underground. It won't, and they probably won't give us a temp wire for a week. We're going to have to talk to them because of the weather. We're not sure. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining us. Hopefully that'll help you out, and appreciate you watching our channel. And yeah, let's show a couple other videos how this goes. Thanks.